Among the most notable aspects of Aikido are the graceful circular body movements. Aikido, however, also incorporates sharp and severe movements which enable one to completely subdue an opponent on contact. The combination of grace and sharpness is demonstrated in the movements called Irimi or entering. Many of Aikido's throwing techniques consist of a combination of Irimi, entering, and Sabaki, countering. Keeping the principles of Irimi and Sabaki in mind, let's look at some Nage Waza or throwing techniques. Various Nage Waza are derived from three basic throws: Irimi-nage, Shiho-nage, and Kaiten-nage. Here we will explain Irimi-nage and Shiho-nage first. Irimi-nage has countless variations. As a throwing technique, it is an excellent example of a sharp budo joined with the efficiency of graceful circular movement to subdue an opponent. When your opponent strikes at you with his right hand, irimi by stepping in with your left foot. Grab the back of his neck with your left hand and pivot toward your right to break his balance. Next, reverse towards your left and throw your opponent with your hand blades.
相手が打ってきた場合、相手の視覚に大きく踏み込むことが大切です。また、この技では動きを止めずに流れるように相手を崩すことを心がけてください。
When your opponent strikes at the side of your head with his right hand, block his hand with your left hand blade and strike at his face with your right hand as you rotate in. Brush his right hand outward using your right hand and break his balance as you step in towards his right rear with your left foot. Complete the throw using your right hand blade as you irimi. When your opponent grabs your right wrist using his right hand, step in with your left leg and grab his neck. Break his balance by cutting your right hand blade down in a spiral motion. Step in when your opponent tries to regain his balance and complete the throw with your hand blade. When your opponent grabs your right wrist with his left hand, quickly Irimi toward his left side. Use your left hand blade to break your opponent's grip on your right wrist. Grab his neck while moving towards his left. Then use your right leg as a pivot point, rotate out, and finally complete the throw by stepping forward. When your opponent makes an advance to grab both of your wrists, strike his hand with your right hand blade and step in as you guide his right hand with your right hand. As you grab your opponent's neck with your left hand, break his balance by stepping back with your right foot. Rotate, step forward with your right leg, and throw your opponent with your right arm. When your opponent grabs your right forearm with both hands, respond by first raising your right hand blade in a spiral motion. Next, Irimi to your opponent's right side and break his balance by rotating to your right. Finally, step in and complete the throw using your right hand blade. When your opponent attempts to punch you with his left fist, move from your hanmi position in order to Irimi to his left side. Thrust your hip forward as you step in towards your opponent, and complete the throw by cutting under his chin with your left hand blade. When your opponent grabs your left wrist with his left hand and then moves behind you to also grab your right wrist, counter by first pulling your wrist in toward your hips, palm up. Then raise your arms in a spiral motion before cutting them down as you step back with your right foot to break your opponent's balance. Grasp your opponent's neck and throw him as you first turn towards your left and step in to use your left hand blade. Of course, there are still many other variations of Irimi-nage. We suggest that you first go over each movement demonstrated here carefully, and thereby start to understand how efficiently the Irimi and the Sabaki movement of Aikido work. We will now move on to Shiho-nage. Shiho-nage is a throwing technique which is developed from the movement of a sword, cutting in 4 directions while using one leg as a pivot point. This is the most precise example of Aikido technique using the body movements of a swordsmanship in an empty hand throw. When your opponent attempts to strike the side of your head with his right hand, form hand blades and use your body weight to strike down and pivot. Grab your opponent's right wrist with both hands and then raise it in an arc as you take a big step forward. Next, rotate and finally throw him down by cutting down with your arms. For Ula Waza, form hand blades and strike an atemi at your opponent's face as you step in to his right side. Grab your opponent's right wrist with both hands, and while pivoting to the rear, raise it in an arc before cutting down to complete the throw.
この技では手刀を生かしながら側面に素早く入り身し、相手の手首をしっかりと制しながら転換することが大切です。
When your opponent grabs your right wrist with his left hand, form a hand blade and raise it in an arc. Simultaneously, grab your opponent's left wrist with your left hand and move forward on your knees. Cut your arms down to complete the throw. For Ula Waza, first form a right hand blade and then shift to your opponent's side, before completing the throw by cutting your arms down as you rotate widely. When your opponent grabs both of your wrists, grab his left hand with your left hand and step in with your right foot as you stand up. Raise your right hand blade while holding your opponent's left hand and rotate. Complete the throw by cutting down with both arms while firmly holding your opponent's wrist. For Ula Waza, step into your opponent's right side, stand up, and grab his right wrist as you make a big turn to your right. Raise your right hand blade in an arc and complete the throw by cutting your right arm down as you step in with your right foot. When your opponent grabs both of your wrists, first guide his right hand with your left hand before stepping in and grabbing his right wrist. Raise your left hand blade in a spiral motion and complete the throw by rotating to your right as you cut down your hand blades while holding his right arm. For Ula Waza, grab your opponent's right hand with your right hand, step in, and rotate to your right side. Raise your right hand blade in an arc and complete the throw by cutting your arm down. When your opponent grabs your wrist from behind, form hand blades and raise them in an arc as you drop your center of balance. Then step forward with your right foot. Grab your opponent's right wrist with both hands, raise it as you rotate towards your left, and then cut down to complete the throw. For Ura Waza, first drop your center of balance, then swing up both hand blades as you step out and grab your opponent's right wrist with your left hand. Step into his right hand side and complete the throw by cutting your hand blades down as you rotate to your right side. There are numerous throwing techniques in Aikido, and it is important to learn and appreciate the unique aspects of each one, while at the same time, inevitably, mastering these two throws as a basis for all other throws.